Ironically, the destruction of the local formerly Baptist-turned-Unitarian Universalist Church by fire gave the congregation an opportunity to redesign the structure from the ground up to conform to UU ideals. Here is the new design for the church. Since it was originally a Baptist church, it still had the water pool behind the pulpit, along with the cross on the outside of the building. They were both destroyed in the fire and will not be replaced. Instead, we will install a flaming chalice illustration surrounded by two intersecting circles.
Yes, the traditional UU symbol. Do you agree?
Yes, this gives us a fresh start. What color scheme do you want for the church?
The church was mostly white, so we can do it that way again. We should install solar panels on the roof to reduce our energy costs and install a battery in the basement to store electric power from the solar panels. I agree. We could also build a garden behind the church to grow crops, such as tomatoes. A church member who becomes unemployed may be offered a part-time job tending the garden in exchange for pay from the church. A homeless family of church members may even actually live at the church for a limited time until they get on their feet again. All excellent ideas. Let the reconstruction proceed. It might not surprise you to know I just dumped Jason last night. Oh, he do something to piss you off? No, I just kept comparing him with you and he came up short. How are things with you and Laura? Doing great, actually. She even asked me if we could get married someday. Well, that seems extreme. Why even think of marriage at age 15? I don't know. Maybe she sees how wonderful the relationship is between your mothers and she wants that for herself. Your mothers did get married when they were about age 20, right? Yes, but that doesn't mean you and she should rush into anything. What's wrong? I miss being intimate with you. I already said I didn't mind you dating Laura. But would she object to us making love together again? If she does, then that's her loss. I still love you as much as ever. If you and Laura are both willing to love me, then I can certainly love both of you. So be it. I am your love partner again. At least this way I won't feel so lonely. Aside from Jason and you, I don't know who I could trust with my body. And Jason is like a cold fish. Probably because of his strict Baptist upbringing. I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with that brainwashing. But then again, Laura was also a strict Baptist and she wanted sex so badly once we got together. So, you want us to make love tonight? Yes, but not here. I know a place. Yes, this is perfect. How did you find this place? My mother's actually come here to make love. They told me about it a few months ago. So what will you tell Laura? I will just tell her the truth. You were my first love and I still love you, and I love her too. Our love should not be limited. Maybe you should call her right now and tell her that. Laura, you remember when you brought up the issue of marriage with me? Yes, and I want to apologize for that. I shouldn't have sprung that on you so soon. I was just getting my emotions all wound up over my father. I have lost him. I just don't want to lose you too. You won't lose me, Laura, but I still have feelings for Carrie. And I love her first. I feel like she will always have a part of me, no matter what. That's what really disturbed me about your proposal. I was expecting Carrie to want to marry me instead. But the fact is I love both of you. Is your heart big enough to accept that? Is this what you call a love triangle? You want to be a love partner to both me and Carrie? And does Carrie want to be my love partner too? Would you really do that for me? Let me talk to her. This is Carrie. Are you saying you also have feelings for me too,
Laura.
No. But I can tell how much you love Debbie. I would do anything to make her happy. Even give her up to you. Or be yours as well as hers. The choice is yours.
We can share Debbie's love and just be friends with each other. I have no problem with you, but the chemistry between you and me doesn't seem to be there. Is that okay?
Yes. You and I are friends. And thank you.
Well, that was easy. I was worried she would be the jealous type.
Maybe if my mother had been willing to share my father with other women, they would not have gotten divorced.
But then you wouldn't have moved to this town and befriended me. My life would be miserable. Face it, Debbie. I need you. I always will.
I love you, Carrie. So much. So you are dating both Carrie and Laura. That seems risky. If that's what it takes to make all three of us happy, so be it. I'm certainly happy with it. All right, but if there are problems, don't be afraid to end it with one or both of them. David, I am here to serve you with the divorce papers. You can sign them right now and we can end this painlessly, or I can just go to court and get a judge to sign them. Either way, this is the last time I ever expect to see you.
All right. And how is Laura?
She's fine, no thanks to you. She burst into tears when she learned you were the one who burned down the church. What the hell were you thinking?
Reverend Owen convinced me that people who were unfaithful to God deserved to be punished and that using a church for any other purpose than worshipping God was an abomination.
That's merely an opinion, David, and opinions based on religious dogma should never be reason to destroy people's property. Or even their lives. One of my uncles came out as gay back in South Korea. He was a Moonie. 2 years after he left that cult, he was murdered. I think you are no better than my uncle's killer.
I just hope I'm doing the right thing by accepting the polyamorous relationship with me, Debbie and Laura. Me too. Some people can't handle it. I know I couldn't bring myself to be with anyone other with Jessica as long as I am with her. She is everything to me.
And Lucy is everything to me as well. Carrie, a bit of advice? Keep looking for someone who can be your love partner in case you break up with Debbie again. And don't compromise your principles. If something feels wrong to you, don't risk it, just walk away with your dignity intact.
You think Debbie or Laura might hurt me?
Not intentionally. But well-meaning people do make mistakes, with serious consequences. You already know some of the mistakes I made.
I am reminded of the Archie comic books. Archie was a teenage boy who had 2 girlfriends, Betty and Veronica. Betty was a sweet and beautiful blonde girl, while Veronica was a rich brunette who tended to be selfish. But Archie could never decide which one he liked better. That's ridiculous. Betty should have been the obvious choice. Character is everything. Exactly. See, you are already smarter than Archie.
Carrie, what are you doing this weekend?
I haven't thought much about it. Why?
Laura just invited me to her house this Saturday. Just letting you know.
Thanks. Have fun, you two.
Keep looking for someone to be your love partner in case you break up with Debbie again.
I hope this dating site can find me a boyfriend soon. Then Debbie can be free to be with Laura all the time, and I can get what I really want too. My name is Carrie. According to your profile, you are 16 years old and live in another town 50 miles away. I am 15. What are you looking for?
I want a girlfriend I can see every weekend.
What sort of activities do you enjoy?
I am a huge sports fan. My favorite teams include the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bulls. I also like country music and some rock and metal.
I don't drive a car yet, so you would have to come to me. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. Let us meet somewhere.
So he is supposed to be here at noon. It is already 12:15. He had to drive a long distance, so we should be patient. Are you sure you know what he looks like? This is the picture he sent me. All right, but if he doesn't show up by 1 o'clock, we will leave. Punctuality is a sign of faithfulness.
Carrie, where are you? Ah, there you are.
And who are you? Buck's father? Where is Buck himself?
I am Buck, the guy you were chatting with. And who is this black woman?
I'm not just any black woman. I am Carrie's guardian. And you look nothing like the pic you sent Carrie that was supposed to be of you.
And this place does not look like Carrie's house.
I never said this was my house. But you did say you were 16 and even sent me a pic of a young boy. You look like a man in his 30s, at least. You lied to me. That's the standard bait and switch scam pulled by perverts. That's why you should always meet with someone new at a public place rather than at your home immediately. And don't meet with him alone. Now, I suggest you get out of here before we have you arrested for attempting to solicit sex with a minor.
I'm out of here.
I'm sorry you had such an awful experience. That's how I met my boyfriend when I was a teen. Only he wasn't a boy, but I was so lonely and curious about being with a man that I put aside my doubts and dated him. And that ended horribly. I remember you telling me all about that. Sadly, most of these dating sites are full of women who try to scam men out of money and men who try to seduce women and girls into sex. So dating sites are practically useless. Then how can I ever find someone to love me? Carrie, so many people love you right now. Me, Lucy, your grandmother in Boston, and of course, Debbie. And you must love yourself too, so that even if you are alone you don't feel a constant need to be with others and risk getting hurt. You are still so young. Give yourself a few more years. In time, you may find someone to be your love partner when you least expect it. And he may be everything you ever wanted.
I hope so. How did things go with Laura on Saturday?
Quite well. I took her to see the Spider-Man movie, but it was already gone, so we watched a romantic comedy instead.
Jason and I watched the Spider-Man movie. Trust me, you didn't miss much.
So, what would you like us to do together this coming weekend?
Give me a couple of days to think about it. Oh, James, want to join us?
Sure, why not?
What happened to your voice?
Ah, you noticed. I finally hit puberty, and not only my voice, but other aspects of my body are changing, including new hair between my legs.
Ugh, TMI, James.
Mrs. Bentley, I just hired a new waiter. He should be here soon. Are you prepared for the lunch period?
Yes. I have 5 pizza crusts ready to be filled and then baked.
Michael Jefferson, reporting for duty, Mrs. Sims.
Excellent. As a waiter, you will greet the customers as they enter the restaurant and ask them for their orders, then pass on those orders to the cooks and finally bring out the completed orders. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Your Honor, have you reviewed the petition submitted for the divorce of the Park couple?
Yes, and in light of the fact that Mr. Park is in jail awaiting trial for a very serious crime, the divorce will be granted immediately. Mrs. Park will be awarded custody of all 3 of her children and will also have ownership of the family home.
And so it is over.
Bring in the next case. Reverend Dave Owen, you are charged with conspiracy to commit arson. How do you plead?
I plead guilty. I see no point in denying something everyone knows I will be convicted of anyway.
Ha. That's probably the first honest thing I've heard you say.
Mrs. Smith, keep your sarcasm to yourself. Reverend Owen, since you have pled guilty, you will be given a sentence of 3 years in a state prison.
Your Honor, are you sure that sentence is long enough?
I have made my ruling. Since Reverend Owen did plead guilty, a lighter sentence is called for. And with that, this court is adjourned.
Jack Watson, we meet again. And what are you in here for? Drug dealing, I assume?
That doesn't matter. What's important is that you and I are in this cell together, and so I can now punish you for burning down that church. And for being an asshole in general.
And with that, Jack proceeds to beat Reverend Owen mercilessly until he is an unconscious heap on the jail cell's floor. Then Officer Kelly comes to see the outcome.
Well, I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Seriously, though, thanks for giving him the beatdown.
Thank you for inviting me back here so I could do it. It was a pleasure.
As president of this church, I am happy to report that the reconstruction process of our building is proceeding at a smooth pace. It should be completed in another week. As most of you know, our former minister, Dave Owen, is now in prison after confessing to having our church building destroyed. David Park, who Owen hired through the actual deed, agreed to provide evidence against Owen and has also been sentenced. Before the church was burnt down, there was some serious discussion among us about if our joining the Unitarian Universalist Association was purely a reaction to Dave Owen's acts of abuse and bigotry. I would say that Owen's abuse and bigotry never would have happened if our church been UU from the start. Owen used occult-like techniques to seduce and control people, with the Bible as his tool. We never should have tolerated that. And I don't ever want to see that happen again. And now Reverend Benton will begin her sermon.
Thank you, Dr. Drake. My story today is called Rabbit Looks for God by Kelly Weissman S. Bruce Jackson. One day, a rabbit set out from the woods, carrying a question to all the other creatures that it met. The rabbit came first to a butterfly fluttering in an open field, and asked, "Friend butterfly, what can you tell me about the thing called God?" The butterfly thought for a moment, and said, "God is the guiding wind that blows me from this field to that one and points me to where the weather is warm and I can help the flowers bloom by flying from one to another." The rabbit thanked the butterfly and continued on its journey. Coming to a horse who was grazing at the other end of the field, the rabbit hopped up and asked, "Friend horse, what can you tell me about the thing called God?" The horse looked at the rabbit, still chewing away at the sweet grass, and said, "God is the ground that holds me up, gives folks an open field to walk and run against and all this lovely grass to eat." The rabbit thanked the horse, and hopped further onward. A little while later, it came to a slow-running stream, and peeking over the bank, the rabbit saw a fish. The rabbit dipped its mouth into the water to ask friend fish, "What can you tell me about the thing called God?" Then the rabbit raised its head back up and put one ear into the water to listen for the answer. The fish replied, "God is water I swim in, it surrounds me all the time, and gives me something to breathe and move through. It's something that everyone needs to live." The rabbit thanked the fish, bounded off again, and very soon after almost ran right into a tree. Craning its head upwards to look towards the very topmost branches, the rabbit asked, "Friend tree, what can you tell me about the thing called God?" The tree answered slowly, but without hesitating, "God is the sun that feeds me and all of my neighbors and family. I spend all of my days reaching upwards towards it, and encouraging the shorter trees to do the same." The rabbit thanked the tree, and, seeing that it was getting late in the day, set off to go back home for the night. As the rabbit was approaching its den, its neighbor, the squirrel, called out from nearby, "Friend rabbit, after your day of asking the same question over and over, what can you tell me about the thing called God?" The rabbit thought for a very long time, and then said, "I can tell you that the butterfly cares deeply for the flowers, the horse wants everyone to have open fields to roam on, the fish knows everyone needs water to live, and the tree hopes its children will grow as tall as it has grown. And then the rabbit went down into its burrow and slept for the night. Devo will present you with a vision of God as an iron-fisted tyrant, because that was what he himself was. His God was a reflection of himself. I believe that any real God would bear little resemblance to anything we know. The ones who wrote the various parts of the Bible only knew of God as being a little better than themselves. And that vision limited man's spiritual growth, because once the believers in God made themselves a little better, they saw no need to grow any more. But they were not anywhere near what they should have been. If you compare yourselves with others and think you are good just because you are like your neighbors, you deceive yourself. That's why we in the South tolerated and even defended slavery for so long that we ended up fighting a civil war over it. Instead of seeing the common humanity in all of us, we regressed into tribalist impulses to turn on each other. People reject God because of the primitive image of God in the Bible, not because theism itself is evil. We can read the Bible to learn from it about ancient history and what was believed in the past, but using it as a guidebook on how to live today is like using the repair manual for a Model T to guide you in repairing a 2015 Ford Fiesta. We need a manual for a 2015 Ford Fiesta to fix that car. And we need to update our religion to live in this present day, whether we believe in a God or not.
It's possible that the people who wrote the books in the Bible never imagined people would be reading their works 2,000 years later and around the world. Even as a Unitarian Universalist, I wonder how we can avoid falling into the kind of cult-like attitudes that dominated this church when it was Baptist. What are the warning signs? Here is one way to avoid self-deception. Imagine you are defending your religion. You use arguments to promote its credibility. Now, would you tolerate someone of a different religion using those same exact arguments? If so, your claim to your religion being exclusively true is discredited. If not, you are a hypocrite. Either way, religious apologetics is unacceptable. Assuming and insisting that any religion is objectively true is indeed self-deception. We must look to the reality we all live in for truth, not ancient books or religious institutions that are man-made.
Not even the Unitarian Universalist Association itself?
No,
because the UUA is not an authoritarian institution. Our leaders are not all-powerful, and we are allowed to openly question their rules and decisions to ensure they are fair and honest. We are far more of a democracy than any other religion. Even as a minister, I am not the leader of this church. I was hired by it and I can be fired by it if they choose to.
Reporting for duty. Wow! I wasn't expecting so many customers so soon.
Most of these people are not customers of the restaurant, but members of a church who came here for a service. But I'm sure some of them want to eat here.
Hello! Would you ladies like to place an order?
Yes. We want a large pepperoni pizza and 2 glasses of Pepsi. And let me say how cute you look. I don't think I've ever seen you before.
Thanks. I'm Michael Jefferson, and I and my mother just moved to this town from Dallas. Let me take your order to the cooks, and you may take a table.
Carrie, I know that look. You are smitten with him, aren't you?
Well, why not? Doesn't he look handsome to you?
Yes, but he is not my type. But if you want to date him in the future, I don't mind. For today, you are my girlfriend.
Oh, of course. Mother Lucy, how old is Michael? I don't think I've seen him at school, at least not yet. He is 19, so he is already out of high school. Why? Oh, just wondering. Do you think he is too old for me? As compared to Buck? No, I think Michael would certainly be more age appropriate for you. But he just started work at the restaurant and he just moved to this town. I don't think he would be eager to jump into a romance with a stranger. You must make friends with him first. I understand. When we first moved here, Debbie had already been here for many years and she helped me get used to life in this town. Maybe I can do the same for Michael. I just need opportunities to meet and get to know him. So, what if you hired me on the weekends for part-time work at the Tuscany Tavern? Do you need another waitress or cook? Carrie, as long as you do the actual work needed and don't just flirt with Michael, I will hire you. You will have to follow the same standards and rules as everyone else, okay? Of course. And thank you.
Lucy, hiring Carrie to work for you looks like a mistake, especially if she is only interested in the job because of a boy. If she screws up, everyone will blame you.
And I am willing to take full responsibility for the failure. But the fact remains the Tuscany Tavern needs more workers. I wish you were still a cook and manager there.
I never intended to stay forever, only to get the restaurant going until I could be replaced. The pharmacy I started with Damien is already doing well, thanks to our advertising. Not only are we offering birth control that the Catholic-run pharmacy down the street refused to sell, we are offering birth control to teenagers for free.
That may upset some parents if they find out.
More upsetting than one of their daughters getting pregnant. I think not. Speaking of which, I hope you won't take this the wrong way, but I brought these birth control pills for you, just in case.
Thank you. And no, I am not offended. Better safe than sorry. I guess you heard about my interest in Michael.
Yes. If you do get him interested in you, be sure to invite him to the house for dinner so we can learn more about him. Welcome aboard, Carrie. Are you ready to be a cook?
Sure. I will focus on making the pizzas.
The empty pizza crusts are already made and ready to be filled. The pizza cutters are over there. And the sink for washing dishes must be filled and then emptied every 2 hours. We go through a lot of dishes. You and I will share both cooking duties and dishwashing. But since you are new at this, you will focus more on the dishes.
Sure.
We have an order for chicken parmigiana plus a glass of white wine and another order for a large sausage and pepperoni pizza and Dr. Pepper.
Right, we are on it.
I will start on the pizza now. Michael, why did you and your mother leave Dallas?
We wanted to get out of the inner city because of the high crime rates. My older brother was in a gang and was shot to death in a fight with a rival gang. My mother later found a listing on the internet for a cheap house and she snapped it up. It apparently had been lived in by a Baptist minister who had to leave town.
Reverend Dave Owen. Oh, there is quite a story about him. He was once pastor of the very church that was meeting at this place last Sunday.
Yeah, your mother Lucy already told me about that. My mother and I were Baptists in Dallas, but Black Baptists are very different from most white Baptists. Now we have no church to attend.
Why not come to ours? We could. Break time is over. Both of you get back to work. It was great working with you. Hey, why not come by my house soon for dinner? You can then meet my other mother, Jessica.
I'd accept, but I can tell from your body language that you want me to be your boyfriend. But you should know that will never happen.
Because I am too young?
Because I am too gay. I have a boyfriend that I left behind in Dallas, and we still talk every day. I plan to visit him at least once a month to continue the relationship.
I see. I apologize for misjudging you.
It's okay, I know you are the daughter of lesbians and you are yourself bi. I'd love to work with you on LGBT issues. But as for romance, you will have to look elsewhere.